Hello, everybody, and welcome to Live in the 315 with Dom and Curb. Thank you guys, everybody, and thank you, everybody, for, joining us today. Sorry, it's been a while. I know me and Kirby haven't really been live like that, but we just had, some things going on real quick, but we're all situated and everything's all settled. So we're just going to go live this week with me and Kirby, just, talking about everything that's been going on these past few weeks with football, with everything, signings or whatever is going on. We're here to talk to you guys about it. Also, there's some teams who clinched already in the NFL, so stay live with us. Here we go. Also, remember, we're going to have some guest speakers coming on again, most likely. I think the next thing we're going to try to do is we're going to try to have somebody come on here maybe, and like we were doing when we were off the dome, we're going to try to have a guest come on here and do a game or something like that with us, so you guys can win some money maybe from me and Kirby. If you guys think you guys know your sports, me and Kirby are going to put you guys to the test for that. So definitely be aware of what's going on with that, and definitely just let us know if you guys would be interested in joining us live and answering questions about whoever your favorite team is or just about sports in general. Get back to Dom or Kirby, and we'll be right here for you guys for that. So let's get right to it. I'll let Kirby go with it, and we're going to go straight to the playoffs. We're about to talk about the teams that clinched. I'm going to let Kirby go off and let us know how he feels about the teams that are listed at the bottom. Who do you think out of those the teams that are going to probably last in the playoffs the longest? Let me know what you're thinking, Kirby.
Yeah, all the teams that clinched this week, congratulations to them. It was not easy for them to clinch it, especially for a couple teams. The Vikings had to come back from a 33-0 deficit at halftime and made the biggest comeback in NFL history. It's just funny it happened to Matt Ryan in the Super Bowl and actual regular season as well. When I saw that at halftime, I didn't think the Vikings were going to come back, but I had a feeling because Matt Ryan was on the other side, there was still a chance for the Vikings to come back. And then also, the Chiefs won in overtime, had a little scare with the Texans. Bills barely beat the Dolphins. That was a good game on Saturday night
That was
as
a
well.
great game. That's
Yep.
something we got to bring up today, too. That was a great game.
Yep. And then, the 49ers clinched on Thursday. They looked really good. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy and Trey Lance in the future on our podcast today. And then the Eagles, they found a way to win. Wasn't, they barely beat the Bears. The Bears competed with them the whole way. Justin Fields breaking that sack and running all the way was something that you do in Madden and not in real life. So, yeah, it was a crazy weekend, and I'm sure Dom has a lot to talk about, with these teams as well.
Yeah, and honestly, we know if we're gonna rank these teams, I'm gonna rank them if I'm gonna rank them on how they're playing and how they're looking and just the team in general. I'm gonna go Eagles number 1, Chiefs number 2, 49ers number 3, and I hate putting them there, but they're playing phenomenal football, so I can't not put them there. I'm gonna go Bills number 4 and Vikings number 5. The Bills barely got by with the Dolphins. There was a lot of, I would say there's a lot of missed calls in that game. Obviously, it was a great game, though, so I won't take nothing away from the Bills. They balled out. They brought it. But you have to give Tua his, gratitude because he definitely did exactly what he needed to do. He brought his game. He did exactly what the fans said that they wanted from him. He did it. He literally went out there and he played football. So kudos to Tua. Thank you. I'm glad that you bucked up from that and you did what you needed to do. So I'm very happy for that. But also the Eagles had a very tough game this weekend. It was one of those games where you're thinking that they have this in the bag. There's no way they're going to have
one of those trap games, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say. It's one of those trap games where you're I don't really know, but it was other than that, it was a phenomenal game. Jalen Hurts did get hurt in that. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. The Vikings, they're the Vikings. They're inconsistent. They lose to teams that are terrible, but they win they beat teams that are great. It's just weird to me. They're very inconsistent. And that's kind of the same thing with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are consistent, but they're inconsistent. It's weird. They're the same, but they're not the same in two different aspects. And and that's gonna be interesting to see with them.
Yeah, in a way, you're saying back-to-back weeks, the Chiefs barely won games, but I mean they were beating up the Broncos. They took the pedal. Their foot off the pedal there against the Broncos, almost lost that game. And then against the Texans, I don't know how they go in overtime with a team that has one win the whole year. But the Texans, they're one of those teams that they're the worst team, but they've been competing with all the teams they've been facing recently. The Cowboys, they almost scared. The Chiefs, they almost scared. And another team that clinched the playoffs that you didn't put on there was Cowboys as well. I forgot to
Oh
tell
yeah, I
you.
forgot to put them.
Oh,
Cowboys.
they lost their game, but they still clinched it just because I think the Commanders lost. If the Commanders beat the Giants, I think they would have still had to do
Yeah,
something.
if the Commanders
But
beat the Giants, the Cowboys wouldn't have clinched yet. They would have still had
yeah,
to I think win like 1 or 2 games, but they probably just still made playoffs either way. I think
yeah,
they'd
they
probably
would have
just
clinched at one point, just not now.
yeah, they would have probably just lost some positioning in the playoffs or whatever the situation is. They still have a lot. But sorry, Cowboy fans, I forgot to put you guys in there. But yeah, the Cowboys did do it as well. But they're the weaker team out of those teams right there, I think.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, I might put them over the Vikings maybe because they crushed the Vikings in the beginning,
oh
at one
yeah,
point in
yeah,
the season, 40-3.
yeah,
So I can't really put a Viking team they're like you said, inconsistent. Their point differentials barely over. They're like +2 now because they were -1 before this week started.
yeah, and it's
And
like
when you're down 33-0, even though you won that game, you still you shouldn't be down that much too. Like if they were down to a team that's actually in the playoffs at the moment, they're not coming back from that. But because it was against the Colts, that's
yeah,
a
and
better reason
that's
why.
the thing, it's and and you have teams like the 49ers, like the Cowboys could even catch it, even if it looks at it, okay, the Cowboys are right there, they could still face the Niners. Like
Mhm.
they could still face the Niners in the playoffs. And this is gonna go to if you think about it, if you really think about it, you have the 49ers who are really balling out. They don't got Jimmy G anymore. And this brings us to our next topic. I'm going to just put it right on the screen for you guys. This goes right to this. Are the 49ers ready to party? I really think this kid has got, he's got to show obviously a lot more games. He's only got 2 games in his belt under his belt, but the 2 games he's got under his belt, he won.
Oh yeah.
He's doing very phenomenal football. And it's say the Cowboys got to meet a 49ers team like this. Purdy's not really making any, rash decisions. He's actually trying to, be smart about his play calling, smart about where he's throwing the ball. IQ is looking there. Yeah, and Debo is definitely a very very big part. And that's the thing. Is Debo going to be ready for the playoffs? Obviously they're saying 2 weeks, right? I couldn't remember if
Yeah, something like that. Which they have 3 weeks left of regular season, so he should be back by the playoffs at least.
yeah, and if you think about it, okay, his first game back is going to be playoffs. A lot of guys like to get that. I guess they might let him say okay, run a couple reps the last game of the season, but you're going to sit out because we're going to rest all of our starters. We already clinched. It's the same thing with the Eagles, with their situation, and we'll get to that in a minute. But it's and also, this is where it comes to it though, where that big question that I have on the screen right there, Lance or Purdy, our party, and and it's what are the Niners going to do if, say, Purdy does exactly what he needs to do? Do you think that the Niners go backwards and they're like, all right, well, you know what, we're going to stick with Lance? Because this is a different situation from Carson Wentz and a Nick Foles. Nick Foles was older, he was already, a vet in a certain situation, but both these dudes are young. You said it yourself. Purdy was the last pick of the draft. What do they call that again?
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly. So you were just saying that the other day, though. So yeah, now go ahead and talk about that. You were just talking about this the other day too.
I think, like you're saying, we've barely seen Purdy. We've seen 2 games, but he looked really good. They beat Tom Brady in the game 1, and then he beat Seattle. And even if Seattle's not good or they are, their crowd is the 12th man for a reason. They're a tough place to play at, and he pulled it through for both games. I think you're saying with Deebo Samuel too, missing him. 49ers have so many weapons with him and Christian McCaffrey now and George Kittle, Ayuk. They have a lot of weapons that even if they're missing one guy, they're still better than most teams on offense. They still have better weapons. I think that you're saying with Purdy only 2 games, Trey Lance, we've only seen a couple games as well.
Yeah.
So what, and in those couple games, I would say I've liked Purdy more than Trey Lance in those couple games.
And obviously Purdy's weapons are a little different. His defense is not, hurt. He's got a full healthy team, except obviously Deebo Samuel, but he's got Brandon Ayuk still. He's got George Kittle still. And if you think about it, it's just one of those things where it's you gotta figure, that's one thing the 49ers I think are gonna have to figure out. You guys traded a lot away to get Trey Lance. Yeah. It's just what you did. You did it. That's just how it goes about. But Purdy obviously is doing exactly what is needed, and that's win games for the team. The defense is going to show you, I'm going to get you in the perfect positions to do what you need to do. Now just win this game for us. That's all we need from you. It's just to win this game. So that's one of the things and that's why this is a huge topic right now is obviously Lance is the guy that they put the what was a fifth round draft. I mean a fifth first round fifth pick. He was the
He
fifth.
was like the third pick overall.
Yeah, third pick or something like that overall. So obviously you put a lot into him. So you want him to be the guy. So it's like Purdy's doing exactly what he needs done for the team. And what if he gets it done? Like, what if I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Eagles, but what if he miraculously just did that? Like, he went into the playoffs, he did exactly what he needed to do, and he won. So, it's just things like that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, we've seen the 49ers win big games with even Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're not even saying Jimmy Garoppolo is that big of a player. Like, he's good,
yeah,
but he's shown like flaws in himself, and I think Brock Purdy has shown what Garoppolo can do, or even better. And that team, like, they're just made to win. Their defense is solid. They're top 3 defense in the league, probably. Their offense, they got a bunch of weapons. As long as Purdy doesn't turn over the ball, it's going to be tough to beat the 49ers. So
yeah, it's going to be one of those things where I think it's going to definitely be tough. And this brings us to this next topic. This brings us to the Eagles and their situation. I have it. I got Minshew Mania up here with Uncle Rico. We compare him to him. He looks like him. That's just that's his nickname. That's his name, Uncle Rico. So we're going to go with it. Jalen Hurts with the injury and and this is another thing too. The 49ers, like, they can look at this and they're like, all right, well, what are the Eagles going to do? Are they going to play Hurts this weekend? Are they going to, say, Hurts, you got to play, you got to beat the Cowboys? Or do they stick with Minshew and trust in Minshew? Because when Minshew came in for Jalen Hurts last year, he played very decently.
yeah,
he didn't play horrible. He went out there, he balled, he did exactly what was needed. So, like, what do you think? Like, do you think the Eagles should sit Hurts this weekend? So because this is a very important game. This is Saturday. Was it Saturday night, right?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, because all the games are Saturday, except 3 games on Sunday. So
yeah, and it's you got Saturday night, Cowboys versus Eagles, division game. This is for what it is. We know what this is for. So what in Jalen Hurts' mind, like, what do you think? Do you think the Eagles should start him to win this game right now, or do you think they should bench him to wait until playoffs?
He's been balling out of his mind. He had 3 running touchdowns. Most quarterbacks, of course, throw 3 passing touchdowns, not running. He's been balling out this whole year. But this is not about regular season. You're there to win the Super Bowl this year, and to start with that, you need your best players to be healthy. And the Cowboys, I say if the Cowboys won this past week against Jaguars, like, Jalen Hurts might have better of a shot to play, but because the Cowboys lost, they're 3 games up with 3 games left. All they have to do is win one more game, and they clinch the division. So I would say Gardner Minshew, he's not a slob. He hasn't played in a while, but he's not like, he's good enough. He's been in the league for a while, like 6-7 years at least. So he's starting to become a veteran technically. And the Eagles, they're gonna just rely on the run, I think. Like, Miles Sanders has been balling out. They got other people. AJ Brown's just a really good receiver. Devontae Smith as well. So even if Minshew's throwing to him, I feel like they're just good enough to be open. And Minshew,
it's honestly a Nick Foles situation in a way. But it's a little different, obviously. But it's still kind of the same situation. I think Minshew I think the Eagles obviously should bench, Jalen Hurts this weekend because he's their future. He shows you he's your future. He can run, he can pass. Obviously, they got to start making him be more of a passer than a runner because you can get hurt in this league. Guys aren't trying to just tackle you; they're trying to hurt you. You're a QB. We're getting a chance to hit you. This is what we're about to do. We're about to come at you full force. And that's exactly what that defensive end did when he drove him into the ground. He knew what he was doing. He's like, I'm hitting this guy as hard as I can. Everyone does it to our QB. I'm doing it to somebody else's QB. So that's one thing I think Jalen Hurts has just got to focus on. But if they sat him, it wouldn't be horrible. Minshew has a great team. He doesn't – it's not like they're trash. It's just one of those things. It's like, I don't know. I think and honestly, with this whole with Sanders, this question right here, he might have got shut down by the Bears, but honestly, I don't think his second half of the season has really been irrelevant. I think he picked it up more in the second half of the season. I think he was more irrelevant in the first half of the season.
Yeah, because the week before, I forget who they faced, but I had him in fantasy, and he had me 30 points. So I know Sanders has had his good weeks. He's a little inconsistent. Yes, I understand that, but the Eagles have so many weapons that not other than AJ Brown, maybe no one's gonna be consistent every week. Devontae Smith went for 100 yards this week. He
And
doesn't go 100.
and let's be real, their other most consistent guy was hurt for a couple weeks, and Dallas Goedert.
And he's
And
coming
Dallas
back
Goedert
now.
comes
He's
back
on
this
the
week.
roster now.
Yeah, and he comes back this week, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson comes back next week. I'm like, yo, the Eagles are just getting everybody back. They just got Avonte Maddox back last week. They the other week, and it's like everybody is starting to flow in. So it's like Jalen Hurts, you give him a break real quick, see what Minshew could do, because you don't know. Maybe if you put Hurts in again, at least Minshew can control it, can handle the pressure. He like your brother just put on here, like he is a starter in this league. You can put him on. You can grab any other team could have traded for him and maybe grabbed him, but the Eagles were like, nah, we're good. We're not going to trade him. We need him as a backup. Like, we want him as our backup. We don't want to see him go. Any team probably could have went for him. But I really believe in Minshew with that team because, like I said, you got Sanders, you got Goddard, you got A.J. Brown, you got Devontae Smith, you got Quez Watkins. Like, that's 5 weapons right there. And those 5 weapons right there are mainly on the field most of the time. Yep. So it's like one of those things where it's like the Eagles could definitely get it to chill right now. And I think it would be the smartest decision for them is to sit him so Minshew could just show you, like, hey, coach, I'll ball for you. I don't care if I'm a backup, but I'm going to ball for you whatever game I'm in. And his coach just passed away like a week ago. Let that man ball for his coach. Yep. Let him go beat the Cowboys for his coach. Yo, I got Eagles, man. I got Eagles by 10.
Yeah, and you think that, like, Dallas's defense, everyone was talking about Dallas's defense is so good and everything. They just gave it 40 to Jacksonville. You don't think they're going to give up points to Minshew?
And let's be honest, their last 3 games haven't looked great. They haven't looked great. Against the so-called teams that were easy to play that the Eagles played, and they won. They now all of a sudden, we still beat them. Man, the Cowboys didn't score until the 4th quarter against the Colts. Like, let's be honest, they didn't start scoring until the 4th quarter.
Yeah, it was a like 19-10 whatever. It was a close game in the first half, third quarters.
It was the closest game in the first half. And then you think about it, they had the second week they played the Texans. And they were having a struggle with them. They almost lost to them. So it's like, don't sit here and say, the Eagles have this easy schedule when you guys are playing the same exact team, but you guys are having a tougher time. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah, for sure. We can go on Cowboy slander. We were talking about Eagles, but then it always inverts into the Cowboys. That's how it goes.
Well, you got, what's his name? Kenneth, not Walker. Is it Kenneth Walker, the backup? It's not Boston Scott. He's like,
No, Kenneth Walker's on Seattle.
So who's the other dude?
Kenneth Gainwell.
Kenneth Gainwell. I knew it was Kenneth. It was one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kenneth Gainwell's doing pretty good too. But Sanders is doing exactly what Sanders needs to do. I think Sanders is perfectly fine.
I think this is his best year or second best year at least. Like,
you got to remember, he's got over 1,000 yards rushing. Him and A.J. Brown got over 1,000 yards each. Like, that's crazy. Like, that's really good for the Eagles. They're really doing really good, and their defense is phenomenal. I actually just pulled up a stat where 4 of their D linemen are literally either have 10 sacks or have 8, like have either 8 or 10 or more sacks. They're all about to reach 10 sacks. Like, I know
one of them's Hargrave for sure.
Yeah, and Hassan. So it's Hassan Reddick, Javon Hargrave.
Is Fletcher Cox still there or no?
Fletcher Cox, it might be him, and Josh Sweat. I know that there's 4 of them. Josh Sweat and the other 3 for sure. But it could be between Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, but I think it's Fletcher Cox because he's been playing more. So it's like I really do. Oh, see, your brother put it right there. First running back to get 1,000 yards. Yup. See, exactly. That's great for them. Yep. Like, there's no, like, 2014. So, like, it's like, the Eagles.
Oh, yeah, Philly has Duke now, too.
They have a very good, decent team, and it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. I cannot wait to see what happens with this. Like I said, I think Minshew's definitely still a good take. But we're going to move on. We're going to go to our next one. We're going to talk about probably one of the most critical, like one of the most craziest things I've seen in football. Probably Kirby will tell you the same thing. I ain't never seen this happen. But this is what, like, come on.
I had to rewatch it. I didn't know what everyone was talking about. I had to watch the actual video.
Wrong thing. Like, let's be real. Like, come on. Like, let's be real. Pats and Raiders ending. Is it rigged or I don't know? What you guys think? Like, I want to see your guys' comments because that game was, I don't know. Like, I felt like Stevenson could have maybe scored that touchdown or like something. I don't know what happened, but like, what do you think, Herb?
At first, when Stevenson started going for a bit, it looked like it was going to be almost like when the Dolphins did that miracle against the Patriots. Like it looked like Kenyon Drake about to
Literally.
run. Like, and then the Stevenson. All right, it was a good flip because he probably would have been tackled eventually. But I don't know what Jacoby Myers was thinking. He's being a quarterback again, just flailing at 20 yards back for some reason. I don't know why he
Bro.
didn't run a little bit. He didn't flip it. I don't know what
And
his
literally, he
mindset.
ran like 10 yards back and then threw it another 20. I was like, yo, what are you doing?
Threw it 20. He thinks any of his players are 20 yards back. Like and
And you
and the
threw it
funny
back
thing
to
is,
Mac Jones.
yeah, getting stiff arm.
Like, what did you expect was going to happen with that? Like,
Yeah. Well,
I just really,
he
I
threw
don't
it
know.
to the wrong Jones. Bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Thank you.
But yeah, he threw it to the wrong Jones. I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if you saw how the play was unraveling there too. Like Chandler Jones got like pancaked or whatever. He was on the ground,
Yeah.
and somehow he gets back up and just catches it, steps on Mac
Catches
Jones.
it, and then he does the stiff arm.
Yeah.
He gives him the meanest stiff arm he could ever give somebody. Yo, I swear to you, he was like, "Yo, this is for you, Belichick," and just like gave it his all. And out of
And,
all people, who catches
yeah.
the ball? Like,
And
come on, like,
you gotta love it too because we're live in the 315. We represent people from the 315 area, and a player from Syracuse he's probably one of the best players or the best player from Syracuse like ever to make it in
yeah,
NFL, and to just do that, especially to the Patriots. Like a lot of people around this area probably don't like the Patriots unless you are a Patriot fan. So it's just something nice to see.
yeah, and it's just crazy to know that, like, literally, he just said Stevenson throws it back to Jacoby Myers, and he literally goes, "Here you go, just take this." And then all of a sudden, he catches it. And yo, that was like one of the meanest stiff. That's like top 5 meanest stiff arms in our era, bro. Like they were
Yeah.
talking about the Najee Harris stiff arm. I think Chandler Jones's was better, yo.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. And then there's flags and stuff, but like, all right, hold on, what's the flag about? And then they like, oh, it's on the offense or whatever. Like I don't know what it was, like backwards lateral or whatever the flag was on. But
Yo, it's so crazy that he put this as a comment. Anytime I felt like a game was rigged in my life, it was in favor of the Pats.
yeah,
And the crazy thing is like that's what I was saying. Like the Pats usually get the good end of the stick.
but now
They
they
got
own Brady, so
the
it's a little different.
horrible end of the stick this weekend. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and that's and not just talking about the game, like how it ended, but that's a big game for the Patriots, especially. Like the Patriots
Oh,
winning that
really?
game, they'd be 8-6, they'd be tied for that last spot with the Dolphins and Chargers and stuff. Like they would have had a good shot to maybe even make the playoffs. But now
And yo, bro, it was
losing that
against
game is probably gonna kick him out of the playoffs.
and it was against his old offensive coordinator. You know, Bill
Yeah.
Belichick wanted that game. He was like, "Listen, man, I need this. I keep losing to all my other coaches that because obviously Brian Flores beat him a couple of times, and it was just like one of those things. It's just like you think about it. It's just I don't know. I thought that was crazy. I really do think that that was something that definitely changed. Whoever put money on that, I'll tell you right now, you lost your money. You lost your money. Whatever you did and whatever was the case, you lost your money. And the only reason why I say that is because that was a crazy ending. Like literally,
yeah.
Stevenson, I swear he could have scored that. Like there's no way he maybe could have got out of that.
I was surprised he broke those tackles and went like 20, 30 yards to begin with. Like,
Yeah.
he didn't even look like he should have been that far out.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, all right, bro, just keep running. And then all of a sudden he like tosses it back to Myers. And I'm like, all right, bet, cool. That's like a decent player. And then all of a sudden he runs 10 yards back and then looks and throws it. I was like,
that was a J.R. Smith moment of not knowing what the score is after the free throw. That's what it was right there. And then you have Belichick is like LeBron on the sideline, just like, dude, what are you doing? But nah, that was a crazy game. Like I said, it impacts the whole playoffs. Like we say, like every game means a lot to every team, and that's just one of those games that it's gonna it's probably Patriots are not gonna make the playoffs just because of that now. And the thing is, they were up 24-17, and they could have stopped Derek Carr, but Derek Carr just drove down the whole field and threw a touchdown with like 30 seconds left to make it that kind of game. So
yeah, and like I said, it's one of those things that obviously we all know the NFL is rigged. And speaking of rigged, I brought this topic up real quick before we do our last topic. Should refs be fined in the NFL? Like, do people think that? Like, I get it. Like, people they overlook whatever they overlook at the end of the year, so they can try to make it better for the next season or whatever it is. But like, let's be honest, like there's so many bad things happening this year. It's just so hard to name all of them because they're just being so bad in every game. Like these past 2 games, the Washington versus the Giants, like we clear as day saw that was a pass interference. How do they not clear as day? And also with like, didn't they change the rule with like you were able to challenge things like that in a game?
Yeah, unless it's like under maybe 2 minutes, which I don't know if it was over. I didn't really watch the game. I saw the pass interference though, but
so it's.
But no, I mean the refs should be. I think as players, like these players are accountable and they get fined for stupid stuff. Yeah, I think refs should be fined for certain stuff like that too. Especially that one time where they were trying to get autographs from Mike Evans after the game, like even though they lost, like why are you going to get an autograph?
It's just one of those things where I'm like, refs just really are starting to like not care about the game, and they're just starting to just say whatever because they're more about the money. Like that's what it's and like. And you're making, and it sucks because you got people who like, it's just one of those things. Like, what do you like? It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, so I'm a Dolphins fan.
Yep.
We're down 6 points to the Bills in the AFC Championship game. We just like the Saints. What happened to the Saints? We throw the ball to Tyreek Hill. He goes to grab it. He's he's about to catch this ball and he's gone. But all of a sudden, before the ball even gets closer or whatever, they grab him. So you're trying to tell me that's not a pass interference. You know what I mean? So it's like things like that. And what am I going to be as a fan? I'm going to be mad. Everybody around me is going to be mad. Whoever put money on it is going to be mad.
Well, it's the same thing as some of these plays they I think it was the Vikings Colts game. Yeah, right at the end, the Vikings guy picked it up, returned it all the way. They didn't I didn't hear a blow a whistle or whatever. Like they let him play it on, and then eventually they're like, "Oh, it's Vikings ball, but we blew the whistles. Like, so you start right here." So like the Vikings could have took the lead instead of like having to kick a field goal. Then like they could have probably won by a touchdown instead of.
This is actually a really good question. I don't think it's more or less rigged. I think it's more or less it was a great decision because it's football. You don't want the team to get the ball back. And he's like, oh, whatever. Let's stop it here because we know we're about to kick a field goal and win the game. They have no more timeouts. Like it was one of those things. It'd be different if like they were losing or something like that and he just dropped. Like that would be, you know what I mean? Like that would be different. Like, oh, he's about to score a touchdown, but he drops to the ground so they could kick a field goal or something, and they're down by 3, so they need that would be different. But I definitely think that was a great in-game decision. I don't know. What do you think, Herb? Do you think that was a great?
No, the Bills weren't going for a tie, but they just, like you said, they didn't want the Dolphins to get the ball back at all. So it was a smart play, just to go down, not score a touchdown, give the Dolphins any hope of trying to maybe tie it and go in overtime. So you just got to rely on your kicker. I know it's funny that they had to brush a bunch of snow away for Bass to even kick that field goal, but but no, it happens. I mean, we saw it a couple years ago.
I ain't gonna lie. Now that part kind of got me annoyed because if that's anybody else, they're gonna make them hurry up. Like, let's go. We need to kick this ball. Like, let's get it. Nah, they dead seriously like let them sit there for dumb long and wipe the whole entire area. Not even just a little bit. The whole area was uncovered for him. Like, I think that was kind of like annoying too.
So what Mike's saying too, it wasn't breakdown thing, but at the same time, I get it with like spreads and stuff. Like, there's a lot of rigged stuff with that. I think the spreads over unders, like there's some like people like a lot of these games get so close to that too, and like you're like always wondering how they get so close with the spread and how the over under. So I think that part could be rigged. I don't know if all players see that. I don't think they all do, but maybe the coaches and people up above, like, hey, my brother has a bet on -7. You guys like go for a touchdown, and don't go for the, like, I don't know. Stuff could happen that way. We just don't know. So.
Yeah, and that's like that. That's one of the things. It's like it's just so much to it. It's like one of the biggest topics in sports. Like we talk about things that could be rigged and whatever. So, but we're gonna go on to our next and our last topic of the evening, guys. Before we get off, these are probably the 2 worst divisions in the league. Let's be honest. It's tough to see who's gonna even. No one wants to see their team in any of these teams in the playoffs. Let's be honest. Let's be real. But what do you guys think? Like, or I mean, like, what do you think, Kirby? Like, what do you think? Which division is worse? And if you had to pick one team from each division, which team would you want to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, so I mean, the NFC South, they're all under 500. AFC South, they have one 500 team, and then Jaguars are getting close, and then the Colts and Texans are not bad or not good at all. So if I would had to do a whole, I would say NFC South is better since the whole is like it's all tight, where the AFC South is just two teams, and the other two teams kind of suck.
Yep.
But I playing wise, I think the Titans and Jaguars at the moment are playing better than any of the other teams in the NFC
Yeah.
South.
100%.
So that's what I would say. I would say NFC South division as a whole is better, but AFC South top teams are. I would I would rather face the NFC South team in the playoffs than AFC South team.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
I think the Titans are falling apart. I think they still probably will get the division somehow, like over the Jags. Like I don't know, the Jags are playing great. Titans are on like a 4-game, 5-game losing streak. Um, so I don't know. I like I said, Derrick Henry's still a baller. Still gonna be tough to beat the Titans because they're experienced in the playoffs if they make it. Jaguars are not much experience, but Doug Peterson's a great coach. He's
Yeah.
gotten Trevor Lawrence balling out now. I already said this year, and if they don't make it this year, next year with Calvin Ridley, watch out for that Jaguars team. I'm telling
Yeah, I
you.
think the Jaguars are going to be a little scary next year because of who they have and what they're going to do with it. I just think they have a very good coach who knows the system and knows exactly what to do. And Trevor Lawrence got very lucky to get a coach like that because now he can help him not only progress in his career but progress like just with everything mentally, the locker room, the guys, just depending whatever it is. I think he can help him prepare for
Yeah,
it.
and you just add Christian Kirk in the offseason. You have Evan Ingram in the offseason. You're getting Calvin Ridley for next year.
And they're
You get
probably going to get they're going to probably try to grab like another running back or
Yep.
something just
You get
because.
Travis Etienne. He had 100 yards this past week. Like they got ballers, and then defense. Josh Allen is really good. The defense of Josh Allen, of course, not Josh Allen, the Bills.
Yeah.
And but like the NFC South, the Bucks will probably still pull it out. I mean, they show more promise, I guess. Like
Mhm.
at least they've like shown some fight. They had Tom Brady. Till they don't have Tom Brady, I can't really pick against him.
Yeah,
But
and it's that's the thing right there with them. Like that's the thing right there with the Bucks. Like it's like that's the exact thing. Like they have Brady, so it's like all right, we know the Bucks are probably going to win the division, but the Falcons are trying to give them a run for their money right now. The Saints are like, I don't even count them
yeah, I
as
mean,
like a
Falcons,
team.
Saints, Panthers are all 5-9, so they're all right there.
Yeah,
I think
so
I would say all those teams though. Falcons did look good in the beginning, but now they've been struggling.
they've been struggling.
I think the Saints because they just beat the Falcons. I think the Saints have the upper hand. They should have beaten the Bucks that a couple weeks ago, and they blew that game. So really, the Saints should be in first place in that division. And I don't know. I think the Saints are the best competition for Tom Brady. So
Yeah, and I think they're the only ones that are going to probably give them the most competition in that. But let's be real, if we're going to see, I would rather see the Titans, and I'd rather see Brady in the playoffs. I think the Titans are definitely going to make the playoffs. I don't know if the Jags are going to upset them. There's like 3 weeks left. I don't think they're going to be able to upset them. Maybe they might. Maybe they will. It just depends because it's football. It's how football goes. Like anything can happen. Anything can change. So
yep.
it's just one of those things where you just got to kind of just wait to see what happens. And I just like these definitely are the two worst divisions in the league. Like they're not gonna be. Me personally, I don't think anybody wants to see them in the playoffs. But obviously, we're gonna see probably the Titans in the playoffs. That's gonna be interesting to see who they play. And then the same with Brady. It's just if Brady makes it, it's just going to be interesting to see who he plays because obviously he's not playing Brady football. And he
Now
came
this is
out
a
in the
question
comment.
for you. Like, I mean, if the Titans or Jaguars, say the Titans because they're at the moment first place.
Mm-hmm.
Say they host and they face like the Ravens, Chargers, Dolphins. I think the Titans. Maybe could beat the Ravens, but Chargers, Dolphins. I feel like Chargers. I mean, they just beat them by 3. It could be anyone's game, but that could be interesting. But I think if the Bucks make it and they face the Cowboys, I'm sorry. I could see the Bucks beating the Cowboys because they're home. The Cowboys could be still a first round exit even though they had a great season. Like,
Yeah, and
what do you think?
honestly,
Is there a better shot for the Bucks to beat the 5 seed in the NFC, or do you think the Titans or Jags could beat the 5 seed in the AFC?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I think the Titans would be. I think the Titans would be a better bet just because of their experience, like in playoffs and things like that. That's the only thing. And it's just like also it's also going to help. It depends on what Tannehill like. Is he going to be hurt? Or is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be ready to go? Like that's the big question right there. If he's going to be ready, because obviously we know what Derrick Henry's going to do and things like that, but it's just going to be tough.
I think they're really missing AJ Brown. You've seen it this whole year. AJ Brown is a big piece of their offense struggling right now.
Mm-hmm. The Cowboys. It says Cowboys are overrated. They are because of just what they do. Like they literally lose to teams who are or keep a close game with these teams that they should be blowing out, and then they beat teams that are really good, like the Vikings. Like they were really close to the Texans and Colts, but they blew out the Vikings. It's just like one of those things, and they just lost to the Jags. Like so,
They
it's like
lost
one
the
of those.
Packers this year, and
Yeah, so it's like one of those things where it's like the Cowboys are always gonna be talked about like that because of who they are, what their team is. So it's like that's just how it's gonna be. So it's just tough, and then it's just tough to say with them. But if they do play the Bucks, I do think they lose in the first round of playoffs to the Bucks. It's just because of who Brady is, the Bucks, and for some odd reason, the Cowboys can't beat Brady. So I just think that, especially if the Bucks are all healthy, their defense is healthy, I think the Bucks definitely got that in the bag for sure.
yeah. And the thing is, like Chris Godwin actually looked pretty good this week. Like he's been injured, but
Yeah.
like him and Mike Evans, if they both can get it going. Leonard Fournette, I think, has been injured for a bit too. If he's actually is healthy, I don't know. Like I they're just preserving it. I think they're still gonna pull out the division. They're probably gonna win. Like they're gonna go like 8-9, 7-10, and still win the division somehow. Because I think they get the best division record in that division too, if I'm not mistaken. So they have a little upper hand, especially with that Saints win. That if the Saints won that game, Saints would probably be in the playoffs right now. But
That's a tough one right here too. This one right here, this question, I like this question. We're gonna answer this real quick
yep.
before we end our live. The Titans are without half their defense right now to injury and had no real consistent receivers. Kirby, he asked you, do you think they could beat the Ravens? It's a good question.
I think they could. It matters really what, like if Lamar comes back as well. Like Lamar's the big key factor here. If both teams are healthier, and it's Lamar versus Tannehill, I would rather take Lamar though. So I would get the upper hand on the Ravens, but I really could see the Titans with their experience. They slow down the ball, like they do a slow pace. So like the Ravens like to do high pace with Lamar and everything. So I think just if the Titans can get whoever can get the pace going, if the Ravens can get the high pace, the Ravens will win. If the Titans can slow it down and do more run game, Titans could pull it out, I think. So
Yeah, and honestly, the Ravens are just on the back burner too. I just don't think they're a really like solidified team because they don't even know what they're doing with quarterback right now. So it's tough.
yep.
Like it's really tough. Like
Either way, one of these teams is going to lose to the Chiefs or Bills probably round
and you
2.
can't even say Lamar. We don't even know if Lamar is going to play. Like what is he going to do? Like that's the toughest part. Like is Lamar going to play? Is Lamar not going to play? Is Lamar going to be ready for the game in playoffs? Like it's just those are all the questions we're trying to answer. But it's just one of those things we're going to have to try to figure out. But don't worry, me and Kirby will be live again tomorrow to, answer any questions. We're going to be doing our weekly pick'ems, talk about whatever else is going on. We're going to probably bring some basketball, some baseball stuff going, AD's injured, LeBron's hurt right now. So the Lakers are kind of does this mean they're going to, fall down? We'll talk. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that we'll definitely talk about for sure tomorrow. I just see that you put Sammy Watkins got the Sammy Watkins just went to Baltimore. That's actually not a horrible move. I think he was already there before, so he might know the system very well. So that's gonna be helpful to them because he'll know the system and everything like that. So that's definitely gonna be interesting to see what happens with Sammy Watkins there.
Yeah, because
So,
once the Ravens lost Bateman too, like they've been a little bit different offense even when Lamar was playing.
yeah.
Like, Mark Andrews is getting double teamed more. So who are you going to throw to? James Proche maybe? Like Dobbins has been killing it though, but.
And that's the thing. It's like they got Dobbins back, but he's running weird. Like I know that injury hurt him because like when he be like you think he's about to be out, and all of a sudden he just starts look the way he runs. It just you could tell he injured his leg badly. But it's gonna be interesting for the rest of the season. We got 3 weeks left. Then it's gonna be playoffs. I can't wait. I'm excited. I know everybody else is excited. Don't go away. We're still, we're gonna be here tomorrow night. So everybody, please be ready for us tomorrow night. We'll be probably live around 8:30. So everybody, just come on here, comment, share. We see you guys are on here. We comment back to you guys as much as we can possible. The more you comment, the more it'll just bring interaction to everything. And we just want to put us out there. It's live in the 315. Me and Curb always try to make sure everybody has a say on our podcast. So if you guys keep commenting, we're gonna put your guys' thing up here on the screen so you guys can see your comment as well as everybody else that is watching. So thank you guys again tonight. We're gonna try to have another guest real soon. Stay tuned for everything. This is Dom. That's Curb. This is Live in the 315 Sports Podcast. Peace.